I should have been recording. So this is Unit 7, for those of you just joining us, Section 4A. And I think I heard number 12. We're going to do a couple of them, but I heard 12, right? And 13?
Yep.
Okay. And then we can do more after that if you want. All right, number 12 is 5 root 6, parenthesis, root 2 plus 3. Can you all see it okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, you kind of got to decide. Remember, it's outside times outside, inside times inside. Okay? So if you want to make this a 1 out here, you can, so you know there's a 1 there. So I'm going to try to do every single step, and then it's kind of up to you how much you want to shorten it. So I'm going to multiply, I'm going to distribute. So outside times outside would be 5 times 1. And inside times inside would be 6 times 2. Okay? And then we have to realize that this 3 is an outside. Okay? And there is no inside. So when we distribute, we would do 5 times the 3 because it's on the outside. And then that square root of 6 is just hanging out on the end. Does that make sense so far? Okay, so then my next step is I'm going to prime factor the inside of these radicals. So 6 can become 2 times 3, and then we already had a 2 there. Stop me if I can't see you guys' faces, so stop me if I'm going too fast or you have a question.
You can't see mine?
No, because I want to be able to see my screen, and I can't put my screen up and see all your faces at the same time. Okay, and then I'm going to prime factor the 6, which is 2 times 3. Huh?
Slow down, minor bit.
Okay.
Minor bit.
Okay, what question do you have on this step? Does everybody see where every number came from?
Yes.
Okay. Was
Miss,
that... Huh?
Maurice does it a different way, though. She does like a factor tree.
Yeah, so I'm doing the factor tree in my head. So I took 6 over here, and I did 2 times 3.
Yeah, I do the factor tree.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's easier.
Yeah, you can do that.
Alright.
Yeah, that's just, there's never one way to do a math problem. There's usually one answer, but there's a lot of different ways depending on how you think. Okay,
Yeah.
so the 2's can come out, right? So we had our 5 and our 1 hanging out front. 2's come out. Zombie attack, because I can't say that other word. Only one of them makes it out. And we have, yes, I can't say that word, whatever. See? Okay, and that 3 is left behind. And on the next one, there's nothing that can come out. So I'm just going to multiply 2 times 3, that's a 6. And like I said, you could do some of these steps together at one time, but if it's confusing you, maybe do one step at a time. And so then I'm going to simplify. 5 times 1 times 2 is 10, root 3. And then 5 times 3 is 15, root 6. And the 3 and the 6 can't go together because they're 2 different square root numbers. And so this is my final answer. 10 root 3 plus 15 root 6. What questions do you have on that one before I go to the next one? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's try 13 now. Number 13 is square root of 10, parenthesis, 4 plus root 2. Okay, am I going at the okay speed now?
Yeah.
Okay. So in front of the square root of 10 is a 1 that we don't have written, but we can write it. And in front of the square root of 2, there's a 1 that you can write. Okay? And then you have to realize, and you have to remember that this 4 is an outsider. This is a visitor, not a prisoner. It's not in the radical. Okay? So that when you multiply, that's
Trying to save everybody else.
exactly, or visit them. Okay, so then we multiply, or maybe he's a zombie, I don't know. Outside times outside, 4 times 1. And then there is no inside, so I've just put the square root of 10. Because there's nothing to multiply with the square root of 10. Okay?
What problem is
This, huh?
what problem is this?
Number 13.
13.
Oh, because I'm off the edge, aren't I? There we go. Sorry. I was like, why don't you just look? Okay, and then we're going to multiply these two. Now we're going to do outside times outside, 1 times 1, and inside times inside, so 10 times 2. And then the next step is to prime factor. So I'm going to prime factor on this next step. So we have a 4 times 1, and 10 can be prime factored into 2 times 5. That's not a very good looking 5. Let me fix it. Okay. Then we have 1 times 1. And then I'm going to factor the 10, which is 2 times 5. And the 2 is already prime. Okay, and then we're going to do jailbreak. I don't know what else to call it. So this is kind of the step where we do the jailbreak to see who can come out. So in that first term, can anything come out? No, because we just have a 2 and a 5. So then we have 4 times 1 on the outside and a 10 on the inside. Okay. In the second one, we have the 1s outside kind of waiting around. But what can escape from that second term?
2.
Yeah.
2.
And remember, something horrible happens, and that gets multiplied by what's waiting on the outside. And who? Yes. And who gets left behind?
5.
The 5. Okay? And now this last step is to simplify anything that can be simplified or multiply. So in this step, I'm just going to do, well, on the outside here, I can do 4 times 1. So it's a
Which is 4.
4. And the root 10 is still there. And on this one, it's 1 times 1 times 2. So that's on the outside. So that's 2 root 5. And because 5 and root 10 are different numbers underneath the radical, we can't do anything. And so that's our final simplified answer. Is it starting to make sense?
Yay.
Yeah.
Would you like me to do a couple more?
Yes.
Is it number 5?
I can do number 5. Yep. Do you want me to write down next to it what I'm doing? Does that help or not?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
All right. All right. Number 5. And again, if I start going too fast, just let me know because I like this stuff and I get excited.
Can you scroll down? There you go.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know how. I don't want to mess with it right now. I'll have to mess with it when you guys aren't on because it's too high, I think. I think I need to come down. I don't know. Anyway, number 5. Root 6, parenthesis, 5 plus root 6. Okay, it's up to you. Like there's a lot of these steps, it's up to you, but I'm going to make my invisible ones visible. You don't have to do this step, but that's just what I'm going to do right here. Okay, and then I'm going to distribute. Distribute, I don't know how to spell. Distribute. Let me try again. And remember, it's outside times outside, inside times inside. Okay, and I'm going to distribute. Now I have to remember that 5 is an outside. That's a visitor. So that means I have a 5 times 1 and a root 6. And then I have a 1 times 1 and a root 6 times root 6.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why did you have 1 times 1? Like, why did you add an extra 1?
Oh, because there's this one here. Here, let me highlight them. There's this one right here on the outside, and it got multiplied by this one here inside the parentheses.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Any other questions about where something came from? Or need help with this step at all? Okay, then my next step is always kind of to prime factor. Now some of you might see how to do this without prime factoring because of the 6's, which is fine, you'll get the same answer, but I'm just going to go through what I would normally do. Okay, so in the first one I have 5 times, oh I want to use purple. 5 times 1, and I'm going to prime factor that 6, so that's 2 times 3. And then I have 1 times 1. And again, you could multiply at this step also if you wanted to. I'm just doing them all separate. And then I'm going to prime factor those 2 6's. So 2 times 3 times 2 times 3. So that's prime factoring is what I did there. And then we're going to jailbreak. So in this first one, is there anything that can jailbreak out of that?
No.
No. So that just stays. And again, you could do the multiplying now if you want it. You don't have to. So 5 times 1.
5.
Right. And the 2 times 3 is?
6.
Okay. I'm going to do that on a separate step, but you could do this on this step if you want it. And then I have the 1's. And then what can jailbreak from this group?
The 2 and the 3.
Yeah, so we have 2 jailbreaks going on here. The 2's get together. It doesn't matter if they're next to each other. The 2's get together. They jump out the window, and only one of them makes it. The 3's get together, jump out the window. Something horrible happens, and only one of them makes it.
This tally got them.
Yeah. Is there anything left in this jail? Is there anything left under the radical?
No.
No, there's nothing left behind. If there's nothing left behind, I always say the jail collapses. There's nothing there. So we just close it down. So I don't put the square root of 0 or the square root of 1. I just close it down. I don't write it. Okay? And now we simplify anything that can be simplified. So some of you already did this step. Liza was doing this step. So this is just 5 root 6 plus 1 times 2 times 3. And that's a 6. These cannot go together because we have a root 6 on this one and there's no jail on this one. And even though there's a 6 inside here, that's not really a 6. It's the square root of 6. So these are not the same numbers. This is a decimal. Square root of 6, oh, sorry, didn't mean to do that. Square root of 6 is really a decimal, and so you can't just add that to the 6. And so here's our final simplified answer. Do you need me to do any more from this section, or do you want to see another one?
Which is this from today?
This is section 4A. That's not due till next Tuesday.
We do 9.
You want to do 9?
Yeah.
Sure. Can I scroll, guys? Are you ready for me to scroll? Okay. Unless somebody yells out no, I'm just going to move on. Okay? All right. Number 9.
No. No.
Square root of 15, parenthesis, square root of 10, plus square root of 6. So the first thing I'm going to do, it's kind of up to you. I'm going to make my invisible ones visible. And again, as you get better at this, you probably can skip some of these steps. Okay, now I'm going to distribute. So I'm going to go multiply here. Outside times outside is 1 times 1. Inside times inside is 15 times 10. And then I'm going to distribute to the second term. 1 times 1 on the outside. On the inside, 15 times 6. Questions so far?
No.
Now I'm going to prime factor. So 1 times 1 on the outside, and on the inside of this one, it's going to be 3 times 5 for the 15, and then the 2 times 5 for the 10. Are we all right with that first one?
Yes.
Okay. And the second one, it's 1 times 1 on the outside, and on the inside, for 15, I'm going to write 3 times 5, and for the 6 is going to be 2 times 3. Now I'm going to jailbreak. I don't really know what the mathematical term is. I'm going to square root it.
Sally.
So in that first group, on the outside, the visitors waiting outside is 1 times 1. And then who can come out of that first group? The 5s.
Yeah.
So we have two, and again, we have, what? Okay. So we have these 5s come out, and then the story happens, and there we go. Multiplied by what's sitting outside.
Sally got him.
Yup, Miss Sally ate them. On the inside, we're left with 3 times 2. That's what was left behind. Okay? Second one, 1 times 1 on the outside. What can jailbreak in this one?
3.
The 3s. Okay? So I'm going to jailbreak the 3s. Again, something horrible happens on the way out. Miss Sally got involved. And a 3 gets out. And left behind is a 5 and a 2. Oops, let me switch colors again. A 5 and a 2. So that's the square root of 5 times 2. Okay? And again, at any point you could start combining some of these steps. And then we're going to simplify. Whatever can be simplified, we're going to simplify. So 1 times 5 is 5. That's my outside visitor. 3 times 2 inside is 6. 1 times 3 is 3. And then on the inside's 5 times 2, which is 10. And that's my answer. Because square root of 6 can't go with the square root of 10. What? Do you want me to do any more, or do you feel like we're good?
I think we're good, but
Okay, Boris is good. Anybody else want to see some more?
Well, I have a question. Which one did you do before 5?
Let's see. This was number 5. This one was number 9, 5, and the one I did before that was 13.
Can I take a picture of that when I get that?
Yeah, and I am also going to post it. I have to upload it, and then I'll post it this afternoon on my Canvas page. So if you want to listen to the video again, you can.